Hey everybody, it's it's Wednesday night. It's practically Wednesday morning or Thursday morning rather in Chester, PA, and Subaru Park or wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'm at a loss for words. I'm extremely tired. I see people in the comments, so we're all ready to just grab a drink, sit down, have a really great discussion. So let me just share out my links real quick. Give me like 2 seconds to do this as I get the show out on Facebook. I get it out on Twitter, and I imagine that everybody else who's listening right now, if it's live, feels exactly the same way I do. How the hell am I supposed to fall asleep in about an hour after watching that stressful, choppy, aggressive match? Absolutely fantastic stuff. So let me just post this real quick. Live Talk in Union. Here we go on AAT Sports Network. Awesome. That's the first one for Facebook. We got to go to Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, or if you don't follow me on Twitter, rather, it's Embarrera1323 on Twitter. Follow us, AAT Sports _ on Twitter as well. If you don't follow us on Facebook, it's AAT Sports Network, AAT Sports Network. Just pretty straightforward. Follow me there for most of our Union content. We also got Quinton Hall joining us for Union 2 content as well. So we're trying to cover and expand as much as we possibly can for all of your Union needs. But here we go. Live talking Doop. All right, here we go. We're ready. We're shared on socials. Let's get into this conversation. The Philadelphia Union have just beaten the Red Bulls for the 16th straight time. I'm not sorry, beaten. They've either beaten or drawn against the Red Bulls 16 straight times, dating back now, I think, almost 6 years. If somebody can give me the exact date, I believe it's 2018, maybe 2019, last time the Red Bulls have beaten us. Um, but 16 consecutive matches that we've walked away with a draw or a win. If I remember correctly, on the commentators from CBS, they mentioned 11-4, so this would be a 12-4 now over that 16 stretch. Let's get to the comments, and then we'll go deep into the conversation here. I appreciate you guys hanging on as I shared everything out. Domesticated Hoagie says Philly moves on. She's already buying tickets to Nashville. Hoagie, but don't forget to buy a ticket for your Labubu as well. I'm sure you probably have it with you right now. T-Mac joins us in the conversation. W. And then he says, just unfollow to refollow. I appreciate the dedication. Valerie says, sweet dub. 2019, Valerie, thank you so much. The last time the Philadelphia Union have lost to the Red Bulls, which is just, a mind-blowing number. You think of rivalries, Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, Flyers and the Devils, Sixers and the Celtics, or whoever you want to compare the Sixers to now because they're kind of ass. But typically in rivalry matches, you have some back and forth. This has been absolute domination. I wouldn't consider it a rivalry anymore. We'll get to that at a later show. Lord of Olympia joins us. Hi, Mike. Late night. Lord of Olympia, late night or early morning? Early bird gets a worm. You can always look at it that way. Joe says, round 3 is going to be fucking crazy this Saturday. And Lord of Olympia, Oloski looked good. Lukic was nowhere to be seen. Lord of Olympia, you and I are on the same page on this one, 1,000%. And we're going to get to that, both about Oloski and Lukic. Let's get to the starting 11. Let's do the usual way we begin this conversation on AAT Sports Network. The 11 for the Union: Blake, Westfield, Jacob Glesnes, Makanya, Kai Wagner. You had the usual sixes of DJJ and Lukic, Quinn and Indy Vasiliev, Baribo and Bruno up top. On the bench, Nate, Rick, Bueno, Cavan, Ali, Ua, and Milan Oloski. Now, the Red Bulls starting 11 intrigued me a bit because we've noticed over the last few weeks, or rather we've talked about over the last few weeks, that the Red Bulls have been going through a gauntlet of their own in terms of a schedule and the amount of games they've played. They played 3 matches for Leagues Cup, have done fairly okay in it, had some pretty stressful moments in those PKs. They then play RSL just this past Sunday, not even get the full rest of the Union got, just past Sunday. They pull out a win against RSL. They're coming into this game against the Union in fairly decent form. They were playing okay. But they're going to be gassed. They're going to have some rotation. So the Red Bulls started the match with Choupo-Moting and Forsberg on the bench, which I believe was honestly a smart move by their head coach and by their club. You got to keep these players fresh. It's a very likely possibility this could go beyond 90 minutes. Let's get your two best players onto the field in the 45th, 50th, 60th minute and wear down a Union team that's going to be pressing all night. So I wasn't surprised that they ended up starting those two players on the bench. And it definitely worried me. When we went to the locker room 1-1, I'm thinking, oh boy, uh, what are they going to do? How much havoc are they going to cause? And they cause havoc. We're going to get there. Joe says, going to get a drink of water after watching that. Listen, Joe, I have two drinks right now. I have a Polar Seltzer in my Union koozie, and then I have a glass of American honey on some ice. So I'm indulgent in both, and I encourage anybody to join me with a drink tonight as I take a sip now. Hoagie says, "Where's Jose? Not a true fan. Hoagie, if my math is correct, Jose is about 5.5 hours or 5 hours ahead of us in Ireland. So really, he should be waking up and joining the show. So Hoagie, 1,000% agree. Not a true fan." And Valerie says, "Blows my mind to think that we play them again this weekend." I listen. I know, and we're gonna get to that in a second. So let's start with the first half here. The Red Bulls come out and score fairly early. I'm gonna pull up my phone right now to see exactly when that goal was. It was in the 8th minute. We give up a goal to Carmona. So their keeper, who unfortunately had an injury late in this match off the Macania goal. I hope he's okay. The way he landed looked like it could have been something meniscus, ACL. You never know when the knee bends in that direction. So, thoughts and prayers out to him, hoping he's okay. But the whole entire sequence starts with his goal kick and his kick. I think it was off a stopped play. Either way, fairly good kick by him. Macania gets beat. And then we have two problems simultaneously. We have Jacob Glesnes standing there watching the grass grow, does not close out his man whatsoever. Andre Blake, I don't know what he's doing so far away. I think if you look at the replay, and I've only seen the replay about once or twice, going through my notes, as you can see, I got my notebook here, trying to keep up with everything. It looked like he was almost by the penalty spot at the time the ball was struck, maybe leaving a little bit before that. But he was definitely out of his net, not in a good spot at all. Jacob Glesnes is caught ball watching. Macania, who's very strong, very tall, very good at getting headers, gets beat. Happens once in a while. It was sloppy. It looked lazy. It looked like they were not really paying attention at the time. Unfortunate. And at that point, now I'm thinking, listen, I'm just going to give you my own personal thoughts at that moment because we're all up late. We're all tired. Let's kind of get into some what was going on today. As you guys know, who watch my show all the time, Wednesday mornings, I'm up at 4 a.m. to get to Annapolis. That's what I did today. I drove home, and I'm thinking to myself, please, for the love of God, do not have another rain delay where I have to be up late to watch this. And sure enough, we get a rain delay. So now we go through this whole rain delay. I already know this show is probably going to go on at 11:30, 11:45, if not later, which is exactly what's happening. And then the Red Bulls give up that goal in the 8th minute, and I'm like, or they get the goal in the 8th minute. I'm thinking, like, we're all staying up late. These fans or outside the stadium, their scanners at Super Park were not working. So fans had to then walk around the stadium, go to the box office, get a paper ticket like it's 1999, get into the stadium while it's storming and while there's a delay. It was such a shit show. I'm thinking this is just the luck tonight for Philadelphia fans. You can't catch a break on the weather. The scanners at Subaru Park aren't working. The box office line wasn't moving. And now you get to give up a goal in the 8th minute. Now, in the press conference before this match, I kind of hinted, or I asked Coach Carnell, like, hey, listen, you've played this team a bunch of times. How do you avoid getting complacent? Paraphrasing my question. And what he kind of stated was, again, paraphrasing, we don't teach complacency here. We don't take anything for granted. We're going to attack and make sure that we give our best effort. And at that point, I'm thinking, this is exactly not how I expected it to go, but they answered back, and they answered back well. In the 13th minute, only 5 minutes later, Ty Brebel gets his goal. I'm pulling up here the notes I had on that. Bruno gets fouled at that point before the tie goal. The free kick comes from Kai Wagner. It bounces to Ty Baribo, and it looked like VAR was saying like, hey, maybe he could have been offsides, maybe not. Regardless, the ball finds Ty Baribo. He's ruled onside. He scores a goal. And I believe they actually gave the assist to Indy Vasilov because I believe he flicked it off the wall. But Ty Baribo, once again, finds his way to get a goal. And one stat that they mentioned on the CBS commentator, or stream rather, which is really alarming to me. I think it's a great number that they said this, and they said this multiple times, and I'm glad they did. Of the 15 MLS goals that Ty Baribo has scored this season, 13 of those goals have been off one touch, which means Ty is finding the right place at the right time, and he's opening his body and putting his foot on the ball in the right way to get that goal. 13 out of 15 goals on one touch for a striker is paradise. It really is. And tonight we had 2 touches on his ball and a nice little finish with the outside of his right foot. Very nicely done. But Ty Bree was in good form, and the reason why he's so dangerous is because he finds those spots so well. So I loved the tenacity from the Union tonight. They answered back on the physicality of this match, and it was a physical match. But they answered the bell the first time, 5 minutes later. Fantastic job by Kai, whose free kicks tonight were fantastic. Fantastic job by Ty and Indy Vasilov. I've been hard on Indy Vasilov. I've said this a few times over the past few weeks. I wanted him to improve his offensive game. In the last 4 matches, since July 12th, he has, I'm looking at my notes real quick, bear with me. He has a goal against the Red Bulls on the 12th of July. He has an assist against Colorado. He has an assist today against New York. And he has a goal against Toronto. Indy Vasilov may be feeling the pressure of not being the same quality as Quinn Sullivan, maybe feeling the pressure of Ilan Miloski coming into the fold, has stepped up over 4 matches in the last month. And he's earned goals either via scoring or by an assist. So tip my hat off to Indy Vasilov. He was removed at halftime for a concussion sub. For those of you who weren't listening, or if they didn't announce at the stadium, I'm not sure. But Indy Vasilov was removed for a concussion substitution. So we're hoping that everything with him is okay. But before I continue this conversation, let's get to some more comments here. I know you guys are flooding it through. Joe says it looked like an ACL for the keeper. Yeah, I honestly, Joe, that's the first thing I thought of too. Hoagie says I go to Ireland in the off season, not during quarterfinal season. Hoagie, listen, take it up with Jose. He doesn't have his priorities in order. Absolutely not. Of course, true fans between you and Valerie. Absolutely. Hoagie mentioned that Jillian couldn't even get in with her tickets. Yeah, I was texting Jillian and Kyle, and they were mentioning how much of a shit show that whole line outside the stadium was. I'm glad everybody was able to get in, and in a way, the delay was good because they were able to find some time to get the people in. Michael joins us tonight. Michael, thanks for joining us. Geez, what a nail biter. I don't have any more nails. I bit them all off after that performance. And then he joins us here again. Milan was smooth. I like this transfer. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a few moments here. So, choppy first half, a lot of back and forth. We see the interaction between Duncan and Danley. Duncan gets removed. I think it was like the 30th minute. I personally was thinking the referee is going to is letting this game get out of hand very quickly. So the Red Bulls, with I believe both of their wing backs had cards, removes Duncan out of there. I think he brings in Nealis at that point. Settle things down. They enter the locker room, and I was listening to the halftime show on CBS, and I agree with their assessment. I think if you are either of the coaches, the Red Bull coach is happier than the Union coach entering halftime because you're on the road. It hasn't been pretty, but it's 1-1. And you're going to this half thinking, I still got my 2 best players on the bench. We're making it hard for them, and they are a little off tonight. And I think Lord of Olympia mentioned it earlier, Jovan Lukic. I counted 3 passes from Lukic that were either heavy, misdirected, or just, not on target. And I texted Kyle and Jillian Almany that, and Todd and Jose as well. Well, Jose's sleeping, but when he wakes up, he'll see it. I said something's wrong with Lukic right now because he's not playing well. I'm sorry, Lukic did not have a good game, in my opinion, at least. And when he was noticeable to me personally, he was making some sort of mistake. So Lukic was a night he probably would like to forget. But you get to the second half, you're in there 1-1. You remove Indy Vasiliev and you bring on Milan Olaski. Now, we had talked about this in our breaking news article that we released on AAT Sports Network. We talked about this, I'm pretty sure, on one of our last shows. What is Milan Olaski going to do? Why is he here? What role is he going to fill? Well, the obvious one is, okay, well, we can't trot out Chris Donovan, Marcus Anderson, Eddie Davis, and the likes of Union 2 anymore. We have to have a fourth striker that's reliable. We've done that. We saw this against Toronto. We saw Ty and Bruno start, Michael and Olaski replace. I'm fine with that. But at the same time, in Bradley Carnell's press conference that he had after the acquisition, Olaski's also a 10. He's also a playmaker. He's versatile. He can do more than just score goals. So that's what we saw tonight. We saw him come at the 10. And I go back to the pairing of Danley and Lukic. We saw in the first 4 weeks, Lukic and Danley looked like they've been playing together for a long time. And even to this day, they still are a great pairing together. People in the comments, if you want to add to this, disagree with me, whatever you want to do, I personally think, or at least I thought, Quinn and Olaski's movement together, they linked up a couple times in attacks towards net. They looked like they had been playing together for some time. They looked like they were in sync. They are communicating well. I really liked what we saw from a dynamic and playmaking standpoint with Quinn and Olaski. Personally, for me, I would prefer to see that up top, behind the forwards. Because, again, and we're going to get to why in a few moments with Olaski's goal, but Quinn was fantastic tonight, in my opinion. He could beat his man one-on-one. He did multiple times. He has pretty good crosses. Indy Vasiliev, for as quick as he is, as well as he does in the press, does not have that same skill set. And that's not a knock on Indy. That's just not the player he is. We've all talked about this throughout the season. Olaski does appear to have that skill set. He appears to have that creativity. So now you have two creative, playmaking, aggressive 10s behind these forward pairings. It's exciting for me, personally. And Valerie says here, definitely agree about Quinn and Olaski. So it's not just me. It's not just the American honey I'm drinking making me think that. But Olaski comes on. Quinn, him, Bruno, Ty look dangerous. The Union cannot get that second goal. And at this point, I'm beginning to worry because the Red Bulls have brought on Forsberg and Choupo-Moting. And I'm going to look at the substitutions right now. When that occurred, I think it was around the 60th minute, give or take. Yeah, see, Forsberg already had a free kick in the 65th. Yeah, so it was the 64th minute they come on. And at this point, there was a few stretches there where Forsberg was dangerous. He had a free kick. You could see he was disrupting play. You could see Maltin was going behind Jacob, getting under the line. There was one moment that he did not get the ball, but he was wide open behind Jacob Glesnes, and I think it was Nealis did not see him. But I'm watching this unfold. I'm thinking, like, shit. This is what I was afraid of when the match started. They would come on, making an immediate impact, and be able to burden those tired legs of the Union. And sure enough, I'm going to turn my pages here as I get to the goal. Where is it here? Yeah, here we go. 64th minute. They come on. The 71st minute, we have a goal. It was a great cross. I'm not sure who crossed it right now. I'm not looking at my FOTMob app at this point. But Choupo-Moting just sneaks behind Jacob Glesnes, and he's in between Frankie and Jacob. Jacob is a half second too late on his movement. And it's a fantastic finish by him. It wasn't a hard shot. It was simply he got in the right place, turned his body, and redirected it exactly the right way. And at this point, it's the 71st, 72nd minute. You've made your subs with Olaski. Ua has come on for Bruno. You already have a goal, a deficit now again, 2-1. And I'm thinking to myself, this is it. They're going to lose this game. You can only beat a team so many times before they eventually beat you. And Joe says assist was Dylan Nealis. Nealis, thank you, Joe. I appreciate you being ready there for me. And then at this point, I feel the same exact way I did in the 8th minute. I said, oh my God, here we go again. The Union fall asleep on defense, not paying attention to their man. They get beat, and this is how we're going to go out. And at this point, I'm writing down my notes. Okay, we've given Curtin hell for not advancing in tournaments. Do we now push against Carnell? I'm thinking the worst thoughts at this point in the 71st minute. Because even though the Union were looking more dangerous to me personally, at various parts of the second half up to that point, their playmakers were not stepping up the way the Red Bull playmakers were. And Forsberg and Choupo-Moting came onto that field and made an impact. And they were the ones who, at that point, had finished the job. What Ua at that point hadn't done, and Alaski at that point hadn't done. And even Quinn Sullivan. Quinn missed one shot that I wish he put less power on. Again, we said the same thing against Toronto. Sometimes he puts a little bit too much power on that. Or sometimes he doesn't cross it and tries to shoot it, and he skies it over the net. So our playmakers weren't making those plays. A couple comments coming up here. Philly Rovers with a little, I think it's a little cup, U.S. cup on the emoji thing. I love it. Eric joins us. Worry. Magic always happens in Red Bull matchups. They need to make us worry for it to happen. Very fair, Eric. I'm glad you're joining me tonight. Frank B says, at one point at this time, a couple bad turnovers by both of the center backs wasn't pretty there for a stretch. Absolutely, Frank. I thought Mekania was better than Glessis tonight, but I thought both of them had a little bit of moments, especially in that second half once Forsberg and Choupo-Moting came on, that they looked a little shaky. So I agree with you 1,000%, Frank. Sean says Alaska has an uncanny ability to find a lot of open space. He's going to flourish in the system. Sean, thanks so much for the segue here, because we're going to talk about the Alaska goal. So, 71st minute, the goal by the Red Bulls. And within, let me see with the timers, 3 minutes later, we have a goal and a response from the Philadelphia Union. So I'm looking at my notes that I took down here. At this point, it was Quinn to tie to Olaski. But the CBS commentators mentioned this, and you can see in the replay, and I'm really glad they did. Yes, Sean, 1,000%. Olaski found this open space. But I'm very glad they highlighted that Michael Ua brings his man closer to the penalty spot, and it leaves Olaski wide open. And it's just, I mean, there's no defender within 3 or 4 yards, if not more. And then credit to Olaski. It's a long ball to get to him. Very easy to sky that over or try to take a first touch and then trap it and score. Just does exactly what Choupo-Moting did on the other side. Doesn't do too much. Redirects it. Score. Perfect. It's exactly why we brought him here. That's exactly why we added him to this roster. Because the likes of Donovan or Marcus Anderson or even Kevin Sullivan at this point do not have the quality on the MLS level like Olaski does. And we saw that come to fruition today. Tanner was probably cheering his ass off and cheering his head off in his suite. Look at what I just did. Look what I just brought into this rotation, into this roster, and look how dangerous they are. Like I said, Quinn and Alaska looked like they played together for a while. Their communication was good. Their movement was good. And then you add that chair on the top. At that point, game's on, right? The Union answered back again. 2-2. A couple more comments here. Valerie says Union was behind for a total of 8 minutes. Yeah, 8 minutes they're behind, and they still find a way to win, despite 2 deficits. Fantastic stuff. And it's great they didn't let those leads build for longer than 8 minutes. Sean says Ua ran behind the center backs. Joe says Alaska goal was sweet to see. Nice move by Ua, Valerie adds there. So again, the Alaska move has some future writing on the wall, right? Ty Brebo going into his option year next year, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. It is midnight, so bear with me here. We know Ua is out of a contract this coming year. Ilaski comes on. I forget his contract right now. Someone can tell me. And then you have Bruno Damiani signed for a contract. The writing on the wall seems like Michael Ua is likely not going to get brought back, which is unfortunate. And the reason why I say it's unfortunate, because once again, he does these little things. I talked about it against Toronto FC. He runs down the line, saves the ball before going out, and he does that extra bit of hustle that you don't always see on the stat sheet. Tonight, as you guys just added to my commentary about, Ua makes the slightest move, and it gives enough space for Oloski to be visible and reached with a pretty long pass in that at that point. So tip my hat to Ua for once again contributing the best way he possibly can, and for Carnell to continuously put. I like Ua off the bench as much as I like him starting. I think he deserves to start. I like Ua off the bench. We've talked about Alejandro Bedoya being a good sub off the bench, what he brings to the table, the intelligence, the defensive skills, the awareness, the leadership. I think we have to begin to say now, like Michael Ua is really reliable off the bench, not only for his speed, but he does these little things against tired legs that just sometimes go unnoticed. So again, you're going to get a lot of praise for Oloski. You're going to get a lot of praise for Baribo, rightfully so. Andre Blake, whoever else you want to, Kai Wagner, these big players who make saves and they get on the stat sheet and they have these free kicks and the assists. Michael Ua deserves some praise tonight. That's all. And let's appreciate him while he's here. Lord of Olympia says, defending corner is a bit shaky tonight more than once, though. Lord, again, also agree there 1,000%. And which is surprising because the Union have been very good on set pieces. And that's where I honestly thought Lord of Olympia, they were going to give up a goal. And if I wrote down, actually, speaking of, there was an instance where I think it was Noma. I probably butchered that name. A Red Bull player. He came off in the match. He missed a wide open header in the 42nd minute. And it was like, man, these Union players don't get beat off headers that often, especially not Jacob Glessens and Macania, especially not Macania. And I saw him miss that point blank header in the 42nd minute. I'm thinking, like, that worries me for later when there is a set piece or when there is a corner kick. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And you know what? To that point, Lord of Olympia, it's a 2-hour rain delay. Mentally speaking, you've already dealt with this a month ago. The Red Bulls are probably exhausted. They just want to start this game. So mentally, playing at this time after a 2-hour delay, whatever delay it was, I think it was 2 hours. I'm not surprised that there was some miscues. I mean, and maybe that might be the reason why Lukic was a bit off tonight. Who knows? Some players are very superstitious, and they have to have certain things go a certain way, and if it doesn't, it throws off their game. So I'm not worried about it yet, but if it continues to be a pattern, of course, I think it's something that we have to begin to recognize. But definitely, I'm glad you brought that point up. Jillian says, just tuning in from Lot G. Jillian, Kyle, thanks for joining me tonight in the lots. I'm glad you guys made it safe and sound to the car and didn't get washed away with whatever rain might be out there in the parking lots. Sean says, does Alaska begin to start games sooner than later? I think, Sean, 2 ways to answer that. One, how is Indy Vasiliev? If he's in a concussion protocol today, he is not going to start on Saturday. At least not in my opinion. I don't think it'd be wise to start him if he has a concussion. I don't think he's going to be able to start if he has a concussion. So, Sean, you've seen Oloski come off the bench twice. Both matches obviously only going 90 minutes in stoppage time, so it's not like it's an excessive amount of time he's played. I think Oloski starts this coming weekend at the 10 spot. I don't know if Quinn starts. Quinn's played a lot of minutes too. I would not be surprised if you see something changed up. If you don't see maybe Kevin Sullivan getting the start and Quinn coming on second half, or vice versa. So I don't think that Oloski sits on the bench to start on Saturday. I'm just curious to see who he plays alongside with if he is a midfielder. Valerie says, Oloski is a permanent deal with Philadelphia Union until 2027. Again, Valerie, thank you so much being my helping hand here. Sean says, is Ua the modern-day Burke off the bench at this point? Sean, I think for you being in the comments for as many times as you have probably heard me say we've never really fully replaced Corey Burke. And that has been the case for a couple of years now. Especially even though we had Ty and Julian and Ua on the field together at the same exact time, rather on the roster, I should say, at the same exact time, it took Carranza leaving for Ty Baribo to begin to play. So once again, we did not replace Corey Burke because there wasn't 3 reliable strikers. So yeah, Sean, 1,000%. It feels like Ua has taken that place of a big, strong player, a smart player, who is not afraid to take anybody on and who does little things that don't always get on the score sheet. So yeah, Sean, I think it's a good comparison. And with Olofsky here, I think even more so. Frank says adding Milan gives a bit stronger bench for the remainder of the season. Whether he starts or not helps the team. Yeah, because you get here's the thing, Frank. You get two options here. A, Milan starts, and you get probably 50 to 70 minutes of creative playmaking ability with a good finishing touch. If he doesn't start, then you have Indy Vasiliev pressing, causing havoc, etc. And if it doesn't matter if they're starting off the bench, that's what they're providing for you wherever they might be in the match. So I don't think for me personally matters who starts, whether it's Indy or Milan in that 10 spot. But knowing that there's two options now rather than just Quinn Sullivan and hoping that Indy can put it together offensively, yeah, I feel better for the remainder of this season here. Eric says corners have been a bit shaky a lot lately, not just this game. And that's something I have to maybe pay more attention to, Eric. Now that you guys have mentioned it, I'll look at it again. I know we've been doing great off set pieces and off corner kicks, so I've been maybe blinded by the production offensively. But, listen, you guys have both brought it up, so it's something we should keep an eye on. Joe says so many miscues on both sides of the ball tonight because of the 2-hour late start. Yeah, 2-hour late start. Grass is a little bit wet. We saw one of the Red Bull players fall down late in this match. Tired legs from the Red Bulls, especially. You're going to have mistakes. Joe says, remember, lessons did not start Saturday due to yellow card accumulation. Yeah, Joe, agree 1,000%. So you're not going to have Jacob on Saturday, and then you're not going to have Indy Vasiliev on Saturday. So most likely. I don't want to say it yet. Most likely. I'll joins me from the parking lot.
Yes.
If Hoagie's still listening, Jose could just be in a parking lot in Ireland talking to us, but he's not. So, Jillian, wait, let me see the kit you have on, actually.
I'm wearing the warm-up top that they wore today.
It looks good.
Thanks.
How does it fit?
Good. It was a good purchase. Like I said, zero regrets.
Absolutely. So, I mean, how was your night? I think you brought a friend for the first time too, right?
I did.
Hi, friend. So,
yeah,
how was your evening?
It was good. The rain delay was, well, what it was. And once we finally got going, it was a lot of fun. My friend Erica here, she got to see finally her first Union game actually get played. And she saw a win. Yeah! And she was doing a great job cheering in the river end and, being a part of that. So it was all good. And,
Erica's getting some love in the comments. Apparently people know Erica, so there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, it was good, though. And, I mean, I feel like the river end probably could have been a little louder at times. Yeah. I was not happy the fact that Red Bull's crowd was being louder at times. But when it mattered, of course, the supporters got into it. But anyway, overall, good night, though. It was great to see, Makanya score the game winner because Makanya only scores game winners. Good for him on that. So, yeah.
You're segueing me perfectly into this next part of this conversation. So, Nathan Harrow replaces Frankie Westfield. I thought Frankie did fine. I was glad to see Nathan in there, especially for to defend corners and on set pieces, that kind of stuff. We saw Bueno replace Lukic, as I texted you, and I said earlier in the show, I thought Lukic was not that great tonight. So I was happy to see Bueno come in. But you've been covering Makanya now for 2 years. You've seen him a lot. I mean, there has to be a sense of pride and happiness for you and Kyle, especially seeing Makanya step up in that moment, which was just a great finish by him. He didn't do too much, just got it done.
Yeah, no, it was great because, let me tell you, Makanya, he's a great kid. He's one of the nicest people on the team. No joke. And, just for him to work as hard as he did, making his way, not giving up. I mean, because I'm sure it was frustrating not getting the chances last year and putting in the time at Union too and all that. For him to have this success this season and have now 2 really big moments is fantastic. And I'm, just really happy that he's been able to do that and really grow. He gets he learns. Like he'll make mistakes sometimes, and that's part of it. But he learns from it, and I feel like he gets better each time.
Absolutely, and the fact that he is so young still gives us so much promise because there has been a legitimate conversation. What happens when Jacob Glessens and Jack Elliott are no longer here? Jack's
Yeah.
already out the door. Stuart Finley's out the door.
Yeah.
Damian Lowe's out the door. Jacob Glessens is getting a little older. Great, playing well this year, but still getting a little older. So now you think, okay, who's next in line? Neil Pierre was the obvious, but Makania was
Yeah.
a big question mark, and we've said this time and time again this season. Makania was a question mark, and those questions have been answered
Yeah.
more than I think anybody expected.
Yeah. No, you love to see it. And also, shout out Stuart Finley, because
Yeah,
Stu had a brace for Hearts over the weekend. So that was awesome to see. But yeah. And I think as far as Neil, I'm waiting for him to get a chance. But,
yeah.
I would have told you last year, I think Neil's more ready. Neil's been more consistent. But, Makanya has really proved himself. So that's great.
Absolutely. Eric says 2 late game winners this season for Makanya. Something we've been missing with those late timely goals. Absolutely agree, Eric. And I think it goes back to the point that we've talked about throughout the season. There is not one player on this team who cannot contribute on both sides of the ball, whether it be defensively or offensively. And you don't. I think what was so great about 2022 was how dominant that top three was of Carranza, Ua, and Gazdag. But I think something that we forget a bit was like, okay, well, you didn't have a lot of other players necessarily scoring every single week. It feels like every single week, every single match, either Vasilev is scoring or Glesnes is getting a header or Kai Wagner has a weird goal that ricochets off somebody. It's always, okay, we need Ua to step up or we need Baribo to step up. No, it's who is going to step up. And we have faith in everybody doing that. So I think to Eric's point, having those timely goals, but having it coming from so many people is really promising for me. And I'm sure, Jillian, that probably gives you a lot of faith entering this final, 8 matches of MLS play?
Yeah, it does. I mean, they've shown resilience. I mean, you see them go down and then they fight back, and they go down again and they fight back. So you feel like, and we've said this before, that last year, I I don't see them coming back and tying it up, winning it, because that's just not how it went last year. But they've shown a lot of resilience, and to be quite honest, after watching Union 2 just have a
Yeah,
rough game on Monday up there, this one felt extra special because we needed that for sure. So,
absolutely. And I'm pretty sure you covered that match, right, Jillian?
yep, yep. Kyle and I were both there at Montclair for the Union 2 match, and yeah, it was frustrating. I know Ryan Richter was frustrated. The team was disappointed and
Sure.
everything, but hopefully they just learn from that, and they have a big match on Friday against Chicago Fire too. So sometimes you get these bumps in the road and you just, are better for it in the end. So we'll see how they respond. But, yeah.
Absolutely. And if for people who don't follow Jillian yet, I have on my screen, if you're listening on, or if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, it's at TOTWAG for the one team we agree on, or silly_Jilly. She just posted about that match. She's talking about on, was it Monday night, right? So
Yeah.
you had the match report for
Yep.
that. I'm sure you'll have something for this upcoming match as well.
Yep.
For our side of things, Quentin Hall has been covering the Union 2 as well. Quentin Hall _ on Twitter. You'll see his work as well. So we got Union coverage coming from different directions. I love it. It's a collaborative effort to get recognition for a club that definitely deserves it. Eric says, but even that season, you had Burke with some late goals in 2022. You need someone who can do it, even if they're not who you rely on for overall production. Yeah, and I think that's where Ty Baribo comes in, Eric. Ty just happens to find ways to score on a consistent basis. But you close the match out. You're up 3-2, very late. You have Cavan come in. You have Bedoya come in. Jillian, how did you feel when Cavan almost had that chance to score? Because, I mean, Olaski's pass just missed Cavan Sullivan.
Oh, it's funny because right before that happened, I said to the people with me, I said, man, tonight would be a great night for Kevin to get his first goal with the first team. And, oh, so close. But no, I mean, honestly, I was saying on Monday that Cavan was kind of missed with Union too, because he
Yeah.
can create, and he can. He's missing. David Vasquez was missing there. You just kind of were missing that with them. But that's the thing. Like, I mean, Cavan can get bodied in there and everything, and he's 15 and all, but he does a good job of creation and being where he needs to be too. So close. I was really hoping for him there, but I know Bradley said that he was really training well when he was on the presser recently. So, Cavan, I think, got very energized being
Yeah.
over with Man City. So, was I in the post game presser? I was not,
Was
because I
Kyle
was
there?
just Kyle was there. Yeah, Kyle's not with us. He was on the post game presser and interviewing players. So we're actually waiting for him. So.
God damn it, Kyle. It's midnight. Let's get.
And we have an hour and a half drive home.
That's a short drive. Let's end it on this note. So the Philadelphia Union, they bring on the last bit of subs. They close this game out 3-2. They now will go to Nashville. I know Hoagie's already buying tickets for Nashville to get the semifinals for the quarterfinal. But as Philly Rovers mentioned here, did you guys hear on the broadcast how they talked about Philly winning the treble, which would be the Open Cup, the Shield, and MLS Cup, which is mind-boggling to think about.
Yep.
But Jillian, we're getting closer and closer. Do you feel more and more anxious as those trophies become a little bit closer to our grasp?
I mean, for me, as a Philadelphia sports fan, of 5 for 5 fan, I can never get my hopes up too much.
Right.
And I'm used to getting so close, and then getting disappointed a lot of times. So for me, until they get to I'm just like not stressing out too much until it's like kind of they're about to cross the finish line. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is and Eric says stop it, don't put that into the universe. And Valerie with the 3 trophies. Listen, I think it's interesting we play Nashville. The reason why I say that is because I thought we played the worst game of the season against Nashville at home, and we were obviously
Yes.
shorthanded when we played
Yep.
Nashville in Nashville, and we still almost came away with a point.
Yep.
I'm oddly confident in that matchup. I don't know about you, but I feel like we haven't had our best go against them.
That's right. Because I mean, it was really. I hate to put it on the refs, but I mean, it wasn't the greatest game from the Union, but the ref was terrible that first game, and then they're so shorthanded on the road at Nashville, and just some bad luck there at the end. But so I really would like to see them go at Nashville with actually, not
Full
have those
roster.
things against them.
Yep.
So, yeah, I do feel like, okay, can Nashville actually beat Union 3 times in one season? That's hard for teams to do, but it's on the road. But Union have won there; they've won
but
there
we
before. So,
but we've also beaten the Rebels 12 out of 16 matches, so it's
well,
like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
um
that's yeah.
A couple last comments here. Michael says he lost his voice tonight yelling at the ref. I think Bradley Carnell probably lost his voice tonight yelling at the ref
Oh,
as well.
we saw him freaking out over there. Yeah.
Not a great overall refereeing performance again. Joe mentions it feels like it's the reverse of 2022 with the Phillies, Union, and Eagles. I don't want to jinx it, but I get where you're
Oh,
going out, Joe. I love it. Valerie says Union and Minnesota in the final. Listen, no matter what happens, whether it's Minnesota, I think it's Austin as the other team,
yeah.
or Nashville or the Union will not play another home game in the Open Cup. So if they win against Nashville, they would have to travel to either Minnesota or Austin. We lost to Minnesota in the Open Cup, I think, what was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago. Because I remember it went to PKs, and it was like a lot of PKs, in
Mm-hmm.
fact. So I know that if the Union make it to the Open Cup final, Kyle and I decide we're going to go that. We're not probably going to the semifinal, but if they make it the final, we'll go. We need to erase the PTSD of being at the MLS Cup final and witnessing that in person.
Had
Um,
had
yeah.
had you guys started following the Union when they were in the 2018 Open Cup final or no? Okay.
No, we started going in 2019. Like, I was just kind of casually
Ah,
following them before that.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I know Eric for sure was at one of, if not both, of the home Open Cup final losses. So I get it. Like you have to like go there and try to redeem as a fans, get that cup. So I will not be traveling out there. But as Eric says, PTSD of 3 Open Cup finals and MLS final, absolutely. So looking forward to that. And let's see, last one here. Going to be a long ride home for the Red Bull supporters tonight, Michael. Yeah, listen, it's not a short drive to Harrison, New Jersey, not at all. So, and Eric says here, now I need to knock on wood, throw salt over my shoulder, and find 104 leaf clovers to shake off any of that previous comment with a bad mojo. Listen, guys, it's 12:30 in the morning. Kyle Almany is still inside the stadium, taking his
Yep.
sweet time.
Yep.
The Philadelphia Union pulled off one of, I think, my favorite matches of the year so far, hands down. Great match. 3-2 victory. We now travel to Harrison, the Sports Illustrated Stadium Arena. Philly Rovers is the final at a neutral spot. According to CBS commentators, it's at one of those arenas, whether it be Minnesota or Austin. Valerie says no. So wherever we go, it's not neutral, as Joe says. It's going to be in enemy territory again, the same thing that we saw at Houston. So it's going to be tough, but these guys can play on the road. Either way, though, 3-2 result. Great match. On Saturday night, the Philadelphia Union will travel to the Red Bull Stadium, Sports Illustrated, whatever it's called nowadays.
Yeah.
We will be going live on AAT Sports Network afterwards again for a post-game show. Jillian, plug anything you would like to plug for your stuff, you and Kyle.
So you can find our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. We post a lot of articles there for the Union and Union 2 and even the Academy at times. So we got all kinds of stuff going there. Our socials, like I said, double_Jilly on Twitter.
Oh, I gotta
and
fix that.
Instagram.
Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
yeah.
me.
Right.
Excuse me.
One underscore was taken when I signed up for back in like 2009. So
Did I just qualify for blunder of the week here? Where's Todd at? Where's blunder of the week? I got your
no,
your
blunder of the
hand.
week is going to be the whole ticket fiasco today. But that was not cool. But yeah, so we have the articles on there, and yeah, and we're going to both Kyle and I will be up at the away match at Red Bulls and covering that from the press.
Awesome. Oh, both of you. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Okay, great. So for me, Embraer1323 on Twitter, AAT Sports Network. Please follow along. If you haven't yet, or if you're looking for something to read before the match, we'll have a match preview out beforehand, probably Saturday morning, if not Friday night. Depends when I can fit into my schedule, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, Jillian, I'm glad you joined us. Erica, thanks for tagging along as well. Did you have fun at your first Union game?
So much fun.
Awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. So thanks for everybody joining us. Get some rest. Please don't hit a pothole on the way home, Jillian. And
PTSD.
yeah. Have a good night, everybody. Go Union.